Erica, so great to see you here on Saturday. Tech Talk Tony, how are you doing?
Tony, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. I'm great. I'm excited for our chat today.
Me too, me too. I think we have a really good topic today that, is pretty different from a lot of the topics that we talk about. But this is the great thing about Tech Talk Tony. We really look to find the topics that sometimes people don't talk about, right? And this may be one of those topics. Do you agree?
I agree. I think what we're going to talk about today, every person can relate to in some way or another.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, this comes from being you and I are very community related, right? We feel community is very important as part of our plan of life, right? Not just a career, but a plan of life. And
Mhm.
so sometimes when community becomes important, here's the $1 million statement. We get into this mode where we're really people pleasing, right? And when we're people pleasing, sometimes things kind of go crazy. So let's first, if it's okay, let's talk about community first, and then we'll get into the meat and gravy of this. But why is community so important to you?
Yeah, I love this question. So I have so many answers here. My day job is Senior Manager of Content and Community for HDI and ICMI, so serving IT and service management pros, as well as the contact center community. And so I live and breathe community every day, but even outside of the professional realm, at a very fundamental level, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so what
Yes.
people need to thrive in life, we need to feel that we belong,
Right.
right?
That's right.
And I actually think while this has always been a deeply rooted human need, there's never been a bigger need for community than there is now. And it's interesting because in some ways it feels like we're more connected than ever before, right?
Right.
Like we
It
have
does.
we have our phones,
That's
we
right.
can text, we've got all these social media networks, we're constantly connected and in touch. But interestingly enough, the research would show that we're getting lonelier and lonelier and
Right.
lonelier. And really, I think, I'm not going to say the word, but what happened in 2020 kind of accelerated this, where we
Right.
became a little bit isolated.
Yeah.
I
That's
think those of us, especially that work in technology or support fields, the work that we do day to day, it can be a little bit of a grind and it can be a little bit isolating. It's easy to just get heads down in tickets and all of the stuff that you have on your plate,
so
and you
true.
can kind of neglect those social connections. But
Mm.
research shows that if we want to show up as our best selves at work, at home, in life, those social connections, that sense of belonging is so important because when we feel that we are seen and safe and heard, we can show up as our best selves for the people that we love, for the people that we lead on our teams.
Right.
Um, Employee engagement gets better, productivity gets better. There was a study a few years back that showed the impact of even having like a best friend at work on how that makes you so much better at your job.
Right. Right.
And so, for me, all of those things are why I feel so passionate about building professional communities, especially I've gotten to know you through the HDI community.
That's right.
And I think you can certainly attest to why communities have mattered to your professional career. And so I'm going to put you back in the spotlight, and I would love to hear, like, from your point of view, what has been the value of being a part of the HDI community?
You're so great. You're like, so we're gonna pivot here. I love that. You're such a great friend. I it's really important, I think, and this is why I have really resonated with HDI, and I'm pretty fortunate. I think there's only two people I can think of that have been in HDI longer than me,
Hmm. You're an
and
OG.
I don't know, but we'll just or old. But either way, what I come to find that connects me to HDI is that word community. I had worked with the community in the 90s, late 90s through the early 2000s. And then I moved home. We were talking about my trip living in England, and I moved home from England, and I got home around, early 2000s, and I started my what I call management professional career, right? Senior director for about 18 years. And so I completely disconnected from HDI, being what I call focused on my own job of managing, and that takes a lot of time. And then raising a family. Our family was growing at that time. One of the reasons why I wanted to move home, we needed family to raise the family. And
I get
so,
that.
yep, yep. And so so, and I'm just kind of giving you this example of before, when in the 90s and early 2000s, when I was with HDI, I really felt great because I was talking to peers who do the same thing as me. And, I'd be like, oh, wow. I remember that is such a great topic. And you thought of a way to do something better by just interacting with people. And so then I had the break, right, where I was being a practitioner, manager for call centers and tech support and all those service desks. And that 18 years was great, but I was busy as a senior director during that time. And so I didn't do much except for that and my family. But then I went back to HDI. I left that and did some other things. We all have to continue to grow. And I went back to HDI. My first meeting back to HDI, I sat next to Liz, right?
Well, Liz Bunger.
Yeah, Liz. And of course, she didn't know who I was. And, I didn't tell everybody, yeah, I used to, work for, the HDI people, not HDI people, but Heat, which is a sister company for us. And so I'm really familiar with it. But I was just trying to get back into HDI, see what it was about. And I, later ended up, starting my own chapter here in Seattle. We actually co-founded with Angie Tobin and I,
Mhm.
and as part of that, I sat next to Liz getting back into it, and she said, "Oh, okay, so this is your first time?" I said, "Well, it's my first time in a long time." And she said, "Good, you sit next to me."
Mm,
And so through that whole first 2 hours, she was just explaining to me who, as a speaker would come up, okay, now this is such and such. And then she would just kind of guide me. And that whole day, she just kind of took me around. Like I felt like I was like, I was learning for the first
yeah.
time, even though it wasn't the first time.
Yeah.
And it really resonated again with me that HDI is about community. HDI is
It is.
about connecting with people, and it's about learning together. And there's just too much AI and cybersecurity. There's just too much that goes on that you can't really digest by yourself.
No.
And
And
yeah,
yeah, and so first off, I'm glad you brought up Liz because I think she's a perfect example of a masterful community builder. But what I love that you hit on, and I want to expand on this, is learning from others because that is the other huge thing about community. It's so easy for all of us to feel like we get to a point where we maybe know everything we need to know.
right, right.
That's human nature to let the ego get in the way a little bit, right?
That's right.
I'm currently reading a book called Think Again by Adam Grant. And to bring it full circle back to community, I lead a weekly discussion in the CX Accelerator community where we pick a different book every quarter and deep dive on a chapter each week. We're doing this one now, and chapter one was like already blowing my mind because
Wow,
Adam talks about how there's so much value in surrounding yourself with people who can teach you to see things from a different perspective.
that's right. That's right.
And oh my gosh, the research he shares about how companies that are having the highest operating revenue are the ones that they encourage their employees to behave as scientists and to kind of
Mm,
poke at each other and encourage them to see things from a different perspective.
I
And
love
to
that.
me, that is exactly what you get when you join communities like HDI, like CX
Right.
Accelerator, is
Yeah.
the value of having other people's perspectives because we can all learn from one another. We all can get better. And that to me has been so rewarding. Learning from people like you, from Liz, from
Yeah.
like Doug Raybold, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so true. I think one thing that always kind of scared me, and this may be the accelerator internally, is that when you always feel that you're always right and
Hmm.
you don't have to learn anything more, but most importantly, that you don't need to change.
Yep.
That's when I feel there's a real problem there
Yep.
because the reality is you can't get through life and just say, "Hey, I'm going to learn this." Because I'm never going to go here. But the reality is people you work with, examples, or real life stuff, right? Like people in your life pass, or somebody has moved from a different location. I mean, there are changes in life, and the more that you interact and grow, you change with those. But
Yep.
if you stay at that same place, then I'm always gonna think that work is terrible, right?
Yeah.
Work is
It's easy
terrible.
to fall in that trap.
It's
Yeah.
easy to fall, and because that life sucks, you know what I mean? Like you get into this persona of, well, because there's nothing great, and so I really believe, especially community can help you with this. We have to find what's great. You can't just
Mhm.
wait for it to plop on your lap. You got to get out there and be part of it and talk with people. Like you said, read books, but you have to be a part of it to be able to understand it and grow with it and then to benefit from it.
For sure. It's all about who you surround yourself with, right?
That's right. That's
Not
right.
only from the like very practical standpoint that when you build a community, you're building a network and you have people to tap into for referrals if you're looking for a new job.
That's right.
But then like on a more emotional level, I firmly believe that we are all the energy that we put out into the world and
Yeah,
energy attracts energy.
that's right.
So I always ask like, are you surrounding yourself by the people that you would want to become more like?
That's right.
That's the power of community to me.
That's wonderful. I love it. Well, we'll end with that because that is an excellent statement. The power of
Okay,
community. I
good.
love it. I love it.